Welcome back to the NLC. Welcome back to the desk, and I'd like to say the same. Welcome back, Trouble. You're back with us.
Thank you.
Oh, it's going to be a good match. It's going to be
It's been
dusty.
an entire week since we sat together.
It actually has.
Yeah.
Way too long. Okay. Dusty versus Singularity. What does this mean? For Dusty, it's important for them to secure fourth place. It would be lovely, so that way they're not forced to play versus the third one. For Singularity,
It's going to be huge because we're talking
Bifrost.
Bifrost, Excel, and at this point, no, I think it's Bifrost or Excel.
Yeah, Bifrost or Excel, or even Vanir. Okay, so it's one of those, third spot. It's still in question. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So obviously, every single game counts, especially for Dusty. Singularity doesn't mean anything right now, but it means that the team has been winning lately. It's also good for the morale. It's also good at the end of the split. Say, okay, we reached 11 days without a victory, but towards the end, we won 4 times.
We reached the
Character development, you know, it's the arc, it's anime. They're
Honestly, I feel like when they mentioned on Twitter that they brought in Dragain because they needed the voice, they needed the veterancy in the team, it actually started sort of clicking. Even though they played pretty much the same style, they played pretty much the same picks, you saw that there was like a development instantly, and I really hope that this carries through over to Summer as well, because I just really want to see what Singularity can bring, because it has been one of these teams that have been playing towards the bot side of the rankings every time in the NLC, and one of the teams that really surprised us this split is Dusty, and I really hope that Singularity can bring the same fire back for Summer. Now, of course, the implications are not too high for this game, but like you mentioned, Alex, as well, Dusty definitely, that you definitely do not want to be fourth, because that means you're facing one of the 3 giants. You definitely don't want to be fourth because you're facing one of the 3 giants later on that will be in the 3rd spot. So, yeah.
And nobody's safe in these playoffs, by the way. We've seen teams, even though undefeated teams, losing versus, for instance, Vanir, Bifrost. All of a sudden you're saying, okay, we're not safe anymore. What is happening? This is the Northern League of Legends Championship, and I'll welcome you to this show. So Champion Select is on. Obviously, we want to see a lot of those AD carries being removed. Do we get more specific bans or more of the usual ones?
I think we're most likely going to see the usual stuff right here, unless they want to chuck in a Rek'Sai ban for Viking, you know, since there's not too much on the line right here. I can't see Viking pulling out his Rek'Sai at some point. He's been very dangerous on it. He was completely like unkilled an entire game. From what I remember, he had 0 deaths the entire game, so this is something to put your eyes on. When it comes to Venza, his Aphelios pops out instantly. You look at Spiky, you think of Draven. So there are specific picks around, you know, FTG, of course, the Rel as well.
The Rel, that's the thing.
I don't think there's necessarily picks that you can or should ban away. I think it's mostly like the regular stuff, like the Lee Sin, the LeBlanc, the Caitlyn. Maybe here we'll see a Zeri ban as well, potentially. Like, if you want a handshake, you possibly can ban out, you know, the Jinx together with the Zeri, and then insta-lock Jinx or Aphelios, whatever remains. It's going to be the Gwen. I'm expecting the Zeri ban here as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then the gentleman's agreement between AD carries, the Jinx from their TV show, you know, and on the other side, the Aphelios.
Is that...
Are we going to do it? Are we going to do it?
Arcane?
Arcane? 2nd season is coming out? I don't know.
What?
I don't know. Just easy. Okay,
Very open.
so
Zeri open.
yeah. So you give away the Zeri, and then you pick for yourself one of the Jinx, one of the Aphelios, and you go for it. Makes sense. That is also something that I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
My question always when I see something that's like not necessarily S tier being picked in B1 is, what value will this have in game? How many ganks will this Hecarim be able to pull off? How much work is he gonna do? Because now you're pushing over stuff to Singularity, and you're like, cool, take the Zeri, you can take the Yuumi as well. Yuumi's a really great pair with the Hecarim, so you could potentially here have first pick the Zeri and wait, and then grab the Hecarim, grab the Yuumi. We saw it early in the day. It's a very deadly trio.
It is. And we've seen Pop in the jungle as well. I know this is not a joke. This is not a joke. But we've seen him pop, so obviously he's going to go for something early as well. If he can get some resets, that's the Viego locked in as well. So not a lot of surprises coming in from Singularity so far.
I think it's so cool that whenever teams see the Hecarim, they just insta-pick the Viego, because Viego has so much fun time when teams engage upon you. When you're able to just free hit, grab a soul, get a reset, keep going. So the second Nautilus goes in and you're able to kill him, you've got so much re-engage potential taking the Nautilus soul. So yeah, I really like what Singularity are doing so far. Getting the Viego, getting the Zeri. You can potentially go even for a Yumi right here, even though the Nautilus has been locked. We didn't necessarily see... Okay, the Renata works as well because she's an enchanter. You just get a little bit pressured by the threat that Nautilus possesses in lane. It's the same thing with the Yumi as well, right? But I don't mind necessarily the Renata. I just really like the Zoomies together with the Zoomies that Zeri brings. I just really like the duo with the Yumi, and also you have the Viego. But we saw Renata apparently worked really well last game. I think someone said that the ultimate from Renata caused the teammate to kill another teammate with the Elder buff, which is a really fun interaction. I really hope this happened because I would like to say I didn't notice it in the heat of the moment when we were casting, but apparently it did happen.
One of the things that I love the most about Renata is forcing the enemy jungler to take some objectives for yourself. If the enemy jungler kills the dragon while it is corrupted, you take the dragon. So that is a way to fight for objectives without fighting them. Okay, everybody goes away, you'll kill it for us.
That's assuming that the squishy champion can walk there.
Also
You
that.
can test that.
Okay, a lot of
Details,
bans now
details.
coming in for Backland, who has been doing a tremendous amount of work in the last week. So obviously you need to focus him down. On the other side, you want to remove Tatui from this game. We have a lot of ways to protect the backline. So giving the gangplank would be really difficult because that would injure the Jinx positioning. So obviously it's going to be removed. Ahri in the mid lane, so that's a way to...
I'm surprised the Ahri is being picked here because you're picking pretty much for a peeling composition. I can see why Ahri would be good for peeling and obviously getting into the fight, or it's something that you don't necessarily want to face. Something like a Victor, something like a Ryze would work really well with your composition. And then as a last pick, you have the possibility of grabbing another tank, maybe even in the top lane if the matchup allows you to do so. We're going to have to wait and see what Aleph is going to choose in the top lane. Obviously, Gragas / Aatrox going to show up in the top side of the map for Aleph. You're going to have to blind pick here, so...
It's
like
still
that.
not a reveal for the top. It could still be for the...
I think this is... Oh my god, do it!
Is he
do
going
it.
to do it?
Do it.
That would
it.
be lovely. That's a lot of AP, but a lot of lockdown, and FGG already has the Nautilus.
You're a great Rel. Lock in the Nico now.
No,
Get
you're
it-
not
get
going to
it
do
done.
it? Okay, it's more of a stable one. And then you have the Akali probably going to the mid lane for backland and then to the top. What is happening? Are you okay,
I thought he was
Trevor?
going to lock in the Graves here, the Graves here. But I do like the Akali. In the mid lane, you have a lot more kill potential right here, and you have somebody. I think they're hard baiting you because unless you want to play this top side of the map, if you don't snowball early into the days, it's gonna be really rough. Yepe is hard baiting you. Yepe is hard
Don't
baiting
tease with
you.
me. Don't do that. Oh!
You get the Malphite. I get some revenge from these, thank you. I get some. Now you know how it feels. Dan, that's to you. Now you know how it feels, man. Anyway, looking back at the compositions, this is where I really like the Akali locked in. You get the Hecarim, you dive the backland, you need someone else to dive with you. And obviously backland onto an assassin. He's used to playing LeBlanc, Akali, another very deadly diving the backline assassin. Together with Vikings Hecarim, they can very easily reach these squishy targets. The Renata, the Zeri, the Ryze in the early game before he has all his tanky items and the Frozen Hearts could work as well. But a rock-solid boy in the top side could possess a really big threat to the Jinx.
It is, and just as we were talking about with Flash, the coach from Vanir, he told us, okay, it was either the Wukong or the Malphite. And the Malphite didn't work on our team, but this time Malphite works really well for Singularity. So could this be another victory for Singularity?
Can I ask
Without
you
Dusty?
something? How does it feel to be deceived?
I am dead inside, but that's the usual. So kicking it off to the casters right now for another game of the NLC.
Sam,
Yes.
what is your profession? Oh.
A rock, apparently, actually, is what it is.
I feel so bad for both of them on the desk because now we've had trouble being hyper-baited by Katarina. We've had Archer have to deal with that. Oh my gosh. He was prepared and everything.
no.
I can't see this right now. but he was prepared
that's
for
sad.
a team pick today. And
Get over here. Get over here. Quickly. Come on. Get behind here.
What have you got for show and tell for the class?
I was ready. It's Yeppe. I was ready for greatness.
Get him off
I'm
screen.
dead
We're
inside.
not allowed this anymore. Get him off. Get him off.
Mommy.
No, that's Renata. That was picked. You have that one, but this is just everyday life here on the NLC. Welcome, one and all.
Well, Renata certainly stepped on that late game team fight. That's for fair. You started this.
But actually, going back to that late,
She's in this game as well.
was obviously in this game as well, and it was against that Jinx. Now, need we remind you, in that late game fight, Renata stole enemy Elder buff to end the game. We know the power of this champion when they're really unleashed. Now, you have another Jace, you have another Jinx. If they're left to auto-attack teammates, even at 2-3 items, it's almost untenable. You can't let that happen in these fights. Question is, of course, whether they're actually going to get to that point in the game. It's not like you can't play around hyper outrange from the side of Dusty as well. You've got the Jace, you've got the Jinx. But there's at least a lot of dive for Yeppe to catch on to.
Going marauding, very appropriate considering it's Viking leading the charge here on the Hecarim, who honestly has found some... I've made that one twice already this split. I feel like any more and it's getting a little bit overdone, but we'll have to find some other options. Maybe I can just be about Ragnar Lothbrok or something. We'll think about it. I suspect if I start quoting old English Viking poetry, no one will A, understand me, and B, think what the hell I'm on.
I was say, like, the best I can do is like one line of Beowulf.
Actually, it's not even Beowulf. It's older, and no one knows it.
Gosh.
It's the Wanderer. It's a great poem.
Do not cite the old memes to me. I was there when they were written.
I think if there were old English memes, I should know them. I don't, which is probably slightly disappointing. But there you go.
Should we talk about something a little less disappointing, which is Dusty's second half of the split?
Indeed, absolutely ridiculous.
And segue into something relevant to this split, because Dusty, you see there, they're sat at 9-7. Those of you who remember back to a couple of weeks ago will remember me in a certain power ranking saying, Dusty have had it. They're doomed. They're bottom two. They're going to fall out of playoffs and everything. But no, serious credit to them. They absolutely have shut me up and have continued to shut me up. However, I'm still talking, which is a little bit antithetical to that. But as you can see, Dusty have managed to get to one of our top spots. They are fighting now to keep pace with Veneer, who we saw take such an important win in that last game. And I have to say, I'm really looking forward to see Dusty and Veneer in playoffs where sadly Singularity won't be.
I mean, Dusty are 5-1, I believe, in the second half of the split, which has been a massive turnaround for them. They are very much online, largely off the back of people like Viking and FGG being two of the best playmakers in the league, as
Level 2.
Yeppe did land the handshake and try and push FGG away, but had to flash out as the engage came through from them.
Now, this is something which I'm going to call back to what Goldborg was saying earlier in the day. If you didn't watch the pre-show, he was effectively saying, if you have to lane without flash on Renata Glass, it's unplayable. It is very difficult at that point. I liken Renata myself to Zyra. I think Zyra is another kind of person who has insane value when left alone to disengage, is very, very vulnerable, though, if they are the target. Now you can see, once again, FGG happy to start walking up and
lands the hook. FGG will be forced back by the handshake, though, and Spiky starting to play back a little bit. But this is the deal, right, between a Jinx and a Nautilus. If you can lock someone down for long enough for the Flame Chompers to arm, you can definitely look for the kills.
Is it the deal or is it the bargain? I'm not sure what terminology we're using for Renata.
So, I mean, like, bailouts for W if you wanted that. Hostile. I mean, you could just, like, I don't know, business negotiations. I said the negotiations are pretty short.
I'm looking at FGG. I'm looking at FGG sitting up here quite aggressively, and I'm wondering if it's going to be less of a bailout and more of a market crash.
Yeah,
as Yeppe is in a very difficult situation. See how this goes.
Arc surges, but has to flash back. The handshake came out to try and disengage a little bit, but FGG stepping forward. The heal comes through from Venza to keep trading. Yeppe taken very low. Healing trade from Spiky, who will keep his support alive. And Vikings around, does have Ghost, could look for the dive.
Yeah, and there's no one on the bot side of the map to help him out. It's a level 2 Renata with no stuns.
Devastating charge is available. Could look for this very quickly. A lot of damage to FGG, who's rooted on the tower. Venza will get out, though. Surely Spiky trying to trade out best he can. Can't quite get the kill, even with an ultra charged laser to work with, and that will be first blood over to Dusty as the horses come clattering through with rear charge.
Upside, there is a flash, and they're going to trade them.
Spectral Maw come through to try and claim Alif's life. but there's going to be not quite enough chase down to be able to secure the kill onto Aleph.
Okay, so and often in this matchup, in the junglers, when you have the Hecarim and you have the Viego, you're looking at the Viego to do something while the Hecarim cannot fight. What we saw there instead is actually, because of the lanes doing so well just by themselves from Dusty, there wasn't really an option there for Pop on the Viego. Might be able to do something in Singularity.
Gets rooted anyway. Does miss the loyalty program, though, in a real way for the shield, but does land the handshake. But you don't take a deal with a devil like that. As Dragane stays alive, but only because Bailout's there, and it's not enough capital to keep that business afloat.
So, of course, no champion left around to get kill participation on after the kill had gone down onto the Akali. It is, of course, going to be flash away from backland. Dragana doesn't have the teleport to get back into lane themselves after that play.
For one in the end, though, because, of course, the kill participation comes through, so that is something. And honestly...
Yeah, what do you want us to show as a replay? There's a lot of stuff that went on. Of course, it's going to go back to the Midland. Yeah, mid lane... Midland?
That's Backland, but not a Midland.
That's the one. Okay, look, it's, words are hard sometimes.
Is that just your nickname for it?
I actually wonder if there was a play there where you could almost let yourself die to tower and then pick up the kill after. That might... I mean, I think it might have been a tower shot too far.
I don't know whether Shuriken Flip would have come off of cooldown after that's the only thing. But I see what you mean. That would have been an interesting choice. Still, it's Dusty with a slight kill lead. It's them with 1,000 gold lead. And they've just picked up first dragon for themselves as well. Second dragon looks to be an Ocean Drake, so neither of those are going to be the sole option. Time to see what Singularity, what Dusty want to do with the next few moments. As it's been a little bit tit for tat thus far, and a lot of contention in this bot lane particularly.
So we do see both jungles down in this bot side, and Singularity, they have struggled to get early game leads throughout most of this split. They've found some ways, though, in recent weeks in their 2 victories, to find some ins in the early parts of these matches. However, Dusty happily sat at 1,000 gold lead. They have themselves a dragon, and as much as we were kind of talking with the X7 game and the XL game, and this kind of applies to this one too, in terms of the playoffs teams who are playing against non-playoff teams need to stamp their feet down and say, look, we deserve to be higher up in the table, and we want to make sure we're on fine form heading into playoffs, which only starts in a week's time, you know? It's not that far off.
It's not, and guys, as you said, Dusty need this win now after that shock upset from Veneer. At literally the latest possible moment, they played some great smoke and mirrors, some great sort of like map play to keep X7 from shoving in with the massive leads they had after they had to. Exactly, and it worked out just about. I think that is a relatively low percentage chance for it working, but they were in a low percentage situation. They made it work. Singularity here could play spoiler for Dusty in a relatively significant way. They've done okay in this early game thus far. And honestly, the later this game goes between Malphite, Viego, Zeri, and Renata, that is a great late game scaling option.
It is, but even though you will have yourself a Malphite, even though you will have yourself a frontline dedicated tank, when you have this much DPS as a threat between multiple sources from Dusty, the later you go into the game, it gets very difficult, especially if the Malphite's behind her. They're getting ganked into that state.
Gonna try and turn it around. It's a lot of damage, and actually Zeri is somewhere around the map. They're gonna try and come over the wall here. It's double Singularity members, Dragane and Porp around the bow. Gonna try and get onto Aleph. He's got no flash and might try and trade up, but surely doesn't have a way. Spell Flux come through. See the Spectral Maw stuns him in place, as I say. And here comes Viking and Backland to try and trade. Porp, of course, stolen the body of Jace. Could trade back with some fairly good damage, but can't press R because he's in hammer form. Needs to try and ult out if he can, but just gets executed.
So close. But then, I mean, you're sat there looking at it thinking, okay, well, maybe there's a way to use another Heartbreaker Strike to get your execute, but one execute comes out before the other one was significantly more perfect on the side of the Akali. So Port goes down for their death. It is an elongated 1 for 2. As, I think this is the right choice as Tatooine to go straight in onto that Jace. You do limit the value of the Hecarim ult coming after that point, but you have at that this time an extension on the Ghost from the Hecarim who gets to continue fighting and stick around and choose their way into this play. Back in with a time to roam as well. Just kind of forces Singularity into a bad situation.
Oh, I wonder whether because Porp leveled up while he was in Jace, he couldn't level up Heartbreaker. I don't know how that works. He was level 5 before that, so I don't think he quite was able to use it.
Okay, you know what? I'm actually not familiar with that, if anyone does know the interaction.
I wonder.
Leveling up while you are taking on another champion's form, whether that does affect it. Okay, that's a really interesting conversation to have.
I have no idea.
Let us know on Twitter. Let us know on the various social medias. We'll plug that one. This one's a social occasion in the Herald Pit. Those Port Pasta, get out of there.
Yeah, unfortunately, the rest of Singularity not quite around and about to be able to trade that. appropriately, and it will force Corp out of the pit. It will give Viking, honestly, just a nice leash. He'll be able to pick up this Herald and continue to extend the gold. 4-2 right now is their lead in terms of the kills. They're going to be able to up the gold a bit more as Dragane and Yepe trying to find some routes in, but actually it's Dusty looking to punish that. He does have flash, may need to burn it. Shuriken flip does come through, will land the follow through as well, of course, after FGG forces the flash. But they'll take the summoner and call it quits for now, as Zeri throws down the Ultra Shock Laser, but a zap come through in trade. Flash forward from FGG on to Yepe, who's going to get knocked up. Does not have the hostile takeover yet, but will be able to get out, but the flash is blown.
Yeah, so you can see, of course, XP been lost in the early laning phase, but there's an all-in on the top.
Well, the unstoppable onslaught will come through, which will allow for a heartbreaker potentially from Yepe, but of course, sorry, Yepe from Port, but of course he doesn't have that available because it's still on cooldown from at the end of the Herald play. Aelif flashes out to safety. Dragane now in mid lane takes an onslaught of shadows, and he does fall to backline, picking up his 3rd kill of this game.
And nowhere in that play was unstoppable for sets.
I know.
Wow, it's almost like there are loads of ultimates, which are really, really crazily close.
Unstoppable onslaught is Sion, onslaught of Sion is Hecarim, and an onslaught occurs at the bot side. The lightning crash comes through from Spiky, trying to play this out as best he can. Venter out of mana, though, can't keep using the rockets, and they can't stick around too much longer because of the mana discrepancy. Spiky flashing from the 5-point strike, and Backlund has to go back to the Shroud on the Shuriken. Porps around, can maybe trade this one out. Ultra Shock Laser will slow down Viking. The Shroud, that harrowed path coming through to maybe allow Porp a little bit further egress, but will not allow any further, and that means that Singularity hold on and don't allow the bot lane dive to come off for Dusty.
Heckling about various ultimate names aside, both of these teams were very stoppable in that play because you can see that teleport down. Like, serious credit there from Singularity to draw out the play long enough under that tower to not lose anyone. Now, it's not a winning play for Singularity, but it's definitely the best of a bad situation that was unraveling that.
Still, Dusty, they don't lose anybody there. They force out some responses from Singularity. They are still 3,000 gold ahead with a Herald inventory to extend that lead even further. And you can sort of see it in the CS numbers. Big leads right now for Venza. Jace, bit of a lead over the Malphite early on before some of that armor stacking can come through. The 3 kills on Backlund give him a very hefty amount of gold to work with as well. He's got a CS lead despite the range discrepancies. So Dusty's still feeling pretty happy in this game overall.
Yeah, and even though, you know, something that you said earlier in terms of like, well, okay, you know, you do have damage threats on the side of Singularity. Look at the jungle through bot, lots of options you can play around. On the other side, Dusty have themselves an early game lead, and they have champions that are very happy to fight and continue fighting as this game goes onwards. I think what we're looking for is for Malphite to catch people in broken fights, get one reset, and have the Rise and Zeri help in setting them up in the very first place. However, there's Dusty that are forcing things into being less split scenarios. They're clumping across the map already. You can see this. They have 4 people and a teleport waiting. They're going to immediately go angled themselves towards this bot lane out of turret, get first tower, get a lot of...
Hey, they're going to try and trade top. There's exhaust coming out from the spellbook. Aelif, remember, still no flash from the earlier place, but Dragane can't get close enough. It'll just be some claps from Tatui, who's trying to celebrate a kill here. Won't quite be allowed it. Dragane now stepping forwards. Doesn't actually have summoner, so would have to try and chase on best he can. And Aelif gonna get not quite far enough away. And the bot side, Viking is very deep, and that will mean there's a dead bot lane. Traded back as Renata gets a hold of FGG, but it's still a 2-for-1. The Herald will allow a double turret taking bot side, and Porp throws up the Schliegums emotes. But still no luck, and Dusty definitely come out on top in the side lane trades.
Sadly, nothing to really be celebrated on the bot side of the map. It's a 2-for-2 in terms of kills across the map, but the structures are very much going in favor with the team, which of course has the Herald. Very much helps.
I made this reference during the day, but it's literally just Lord of the Rings all over again. Sauron signed the building contract, 2 towers. It's all thanking the bot side.
That he had a Herald too.
It did. Well, did he?
Yeah, Mouth of Sauron.
That's Sauron, not Saruman, but I got you.
Oh, is it Sauron? Okay.
I mentioned Saruman because he's okay, whatever, it's fine.
Words, it's okay.
That's similar names.
I'm good at language read. But of course, this is going to be the bailout, buying an extra couple of seconds. This is the thing about Renata is that it's just so hard to dive. Now, doesn't end up working the optimal situation. This is like, Elif is not in an optimal situation here. Funny that.
He's still got no flash. He's still not got a way out. He's still probably going to die here. It's a decent hammer blow to knock people away, but he's on vision, and Alcove Gaming doesn't really amount to much of a victory.
So Singularity find themselves in a similar kind of play pattern to, again, something they found throughout this split, where they're actually making plays, but they're losing all of the collateral. Every side benefit goes to the enemy team. And Dusty are continuing to make plays. They're continuing to up the ante. It's Viking who's getting very involved too. He's pushing up into the enemy jungle now. Dusty, very happy with, well, continuing their happiness in this game.
Yes, they are. And a lot of that is just off objectives. They've got so many plates early on. They've got so much CS in their favor. They've got the structures that Singularity have none of right now. And yes, they will scale to the point where their mid game is pretty easy to pull off. But, you know, being down 6,000 gold despite the kills being relatively close is pretty unoptimal. It's not even 15 minutes into the game yet.
And that actually, you know what? I hadn't even thought to look at the clock at that point. I know big clocks have been
around for you.
Big clock has been a point of concern for me this weekend. But I wasn't, because we've been so focused on what's been on the screen. I actually hadn't looked towards the top of it that much. And you check in and you go, oh heck.
Good heavens, look at the time.
Good heavens, look at the time. Got a quick update as well, actually. Just heard from production, of course, this full calling back to a little earlier on in the game. But apparently you actually can't level up your ultimate if you level up in another form as Vegas. That's a really good call out, Sam. You really nailed that. That's your one compliment of the broadcast you get.
Thank you.
Use it well.
Thank you. Trouble, I think, sarcastically, like, gave
Wait, have I gone over?
No, but it was sarcastic. I don't think it necessarily counts. But you can overquote it. I'll take it. They're also mean to me here on the broadcast. You literally, this guy leaves for the LEC, comes back and then pulls off this kind of thing. As Viking is looking to go straight in onto the ruined king, who is ruined in turn and left 6 foot deep. Hecarim picks up that kill. He'll pick up Spiky as well, who's the real ruler of the Shadow Wilds. It is a coup going on in this game. Big damage in trade. That's not a bad hostile takeover. And Aleph starts putting out a fair amount of damage in turn onto his own teammates. The handshake goes wide. Venza flashes away from the unstoppable force. And Tatui now has to back out of danger. Backlund flashing forward, quite secure the kill. FGG going in, and Dragane is taken out. Backlund on the rampage. Aleph lands a shock blast. The handshake will not be accepted by Aleph, who does not have any manners because he is here to slap down Singularity in the mid lane.
And in another world, that could have been the last line of defense. It could have been the 300, but of course they can't be doing that because they didn't lock in the Pantheon. They had the Renata. The ult was...
Shade? They're not fighting in it, apparently.
I see, apparently. That's a very niche reference. I appreciate it, but
Leonidas,
you
what a wonderful
see the
speech.
playmaking attempt from the Renata to try to get forwards up into the enemy face, and there was a lot of damage put onto the Jinx very close to this coming through. Imagine to go see this again as Porp is caught out early into this fight. The hook lands true, and I mean, FGG has gone from strength to strength in the second half of the split. Seriously, have to start crediting this individual more.
Okay, I was about to make a horrible pun, but Porp is about to get porped, apparently, like a bubble, trying to stay alive best he can. I know, that was the pun. I'm so it was. But Porp's staying alive for a moment. The bailout, again, that company goes under. The stock options just not working out for Renata Investments. Just not great choices, speculative though they may be. Spiky trying to trade out best they can over the wall with the Spark Surge, taken so damn low. Venza and Dusty unstoppable, charging forward, heedless of the Singularity members. And with 2 dead and Spiky down to sub 5% HP, can turn back to look about what their kingdom is wreaking.
And, you know, we mentioned a little bit earlier, it's like, Singularity really want to start fighting in broken fights. Use the Realm Warp to catch people in rotation.
Sure.
Maybe you can use the same with, you know, the
Baron, by the way.
It's sweet, cool. That's
Herald, that's what a Baron.
They have
power cool.
Sam, it's 17 minutes.
Again, the clock catches his hand. I saw the recall, and then the moment I said it, I was like, wait, I've just checked the top.
Time waits for no one, apart from Baron, I guess.
Apart from Baron, he's very punctual, yes.
But Singularity, again, they want to play the broken fights, and they've just not been able to. They haven't been able to fight on their terms. They have been very reactive. They had tried to proactively cross-map a little early into the game, but that's not been kept up nearly enough for them. Singularity now trying to push up just beyond their own side of the map, but it's all warded up. It is lit up like daylight. All right, Dusty, and they're headed towards the shadows of this dragon fight.
Aleph chokes out Yeppe before the fight. Infernal Soul Point would be the prize here for Dusty. Look at the side, though. Yeppe being chased away by Aleph. Into the backline goes to Tui, trying to get on the Venza. Nearly chokes him out. They get the kill. It's not a bad hostile takeover, but Spiky chunked out by Backlund, who can't quite secure the kill. Trying to blast Kona away. Fight still going. Dragane will not get out on his Realm Warp. He goes down for a double kill to Backlund. Viking secures another. And what looked like an okay fight for moments for Singularity turns into a 4-for-1.
And again, Dusty have gone from their own strengths to strengths. Talked about individual members doing that, but they look calm, they look poised, and every fight
They've got Herald.
so
They could
handily
end.
in their favor. They could genuinely end at 20 minutes.
This could be the quickest game win, I believe, in all of the NLC here in spring. Inhibitor under siege. Porp is back up,
Deal with the
Spikey's here.
respawns.
Maybe they decide
can't.
against it. They decide, even with the Herald, they don't want to push for it. They're not going to be
It's
quite that greedy.
It started with that timer, that damn timer. The respawns are too quick. Of course, this is how they ended up having to be in a position to respawn. As Backlund getting right in amongst the enemy team. Of course, Viking joining their mid laner. And as much as a lot of what we've talked about Dusty in this split has been, early on in the split, it was about the mid jungle. Then we talked about everyone else. We said, oh, actually, their bot lane starting to step up. This fight here again, you can see how well this Hecarim Akali is working out for this team and how easily they're making an absolute mockery of these team fights.
And suddenly Backlund over 10 pages into that book. The Mickey X aficionado signing in as many names as he can right now. 6, 1, and 3 with the 2 items complete on the Akali.
I love this item anyway because I think it's a mainstay on Ahri and you should build it every game as... well, you could be stacking up a little bit more here. Look, he's dead. We could probably just not talk about this. But
Watching about you, Aleph is taken pretty low, but it's still
he's dead.
Okay, you know, I tried.
Very dead.
I tried.
Funny thing, you know that the Magi's icon is pretty much the same as the Amp Tome, except it has the eye inside it. Magi's Soul Stealer is actually not the book. It's the eye which steals your soul, trying to steal some
interesting.
soul, but he's alive here.
So he did go in, but he's still going to get taken very low. It's not about hostile takeover, though.
Okay.
They get a kill to 1-for-1 right now, but into the backline goes Viking. The turnaround dives have always been so extreme. Backlund executes Spikey, and it's a 5-for-1. Dusty at 20 minutes, it's 22-7. They can put a stamp on this game. It's done. It's dusted for Dusty.
And Yeppe and crew will have to be joining this board meeting via Zoom, do it remotely because they are not left on this rip. They have been absolutely ejected from this office building, and it just seems so hard for them to stand and fight again. We keep bringing it back to it. A Singularity want to fight broken fights. They're not being allowed to. Dusty are taking them in storm.
And just, you can see it, the item discrepancies. 2.5 items right now for Jinx to 1, and literally just now a half for Spikey. And remember, Dusty have yet to back. So I'm sure a lot of that gold about to be cashed in will change that again in turn. Porp's going to try and come over. Doesn't have flash, doesn't have a Heartbreaker, so will not be able to get anywhere near the pit. It's secured. The MasterCard jingle comes out.
And it is much louder in your ears.
It is, isn't it? Than you expect, absolutely. And you can see the start here for Tatui. They try to go for the pick, but the turnaround, even after the hostile takeoff, just too extreme for Dusty.
It's a heal being put into the fray as well. I mean, you do say, okay, well, Singularity are looking for the split fight, and if they weren't so incredibly far behind, those solo laners wouldn't have turned up in time for that to be turned around. Jace is not the best person to teleport midway through a fight, but Dusty have themselves that margin of error to play around, and their profit margins are going up and up with every fight. 3 items now onto Backlund. We talked about those AD carries, like, oh, 1.5 for Spike. Double that and you have yourself a Backlund Akali, who's 7, 1, and 4 with that. Magi's healthily stacking.
Yeppe and Tui were sat in that bush by top lane tower for a very long time. Oh, he just revealed himself. That's so sad. Just a little bit of an overstep, but actually it's a pull back and a handshake there. Viking has a devastating charge away, but now FTG to the backside. They go for the tower dive. Onslaught of shadows comes through, but the hostile takeover is good, and that's the unstoppable force in turn. Shut down onto Viking. What is this top lane turret? It happened for X7 earlier in the split. It might be happening here again for Singularity. Trying to stay alive. A reset right now for Porp, who steals away the Jace. That's a dead Venzer as well. The Jinx is done. Yeppe gets hooked. Backlund trying to go through. It's Dragane stepping forth, but they can't get there. And Backlund gets the double and shuts down what could have been a beautiful turnaround. Still 3 for 4. It's better than Singularity have had in about 20 goddamn minutes.
But they haven't got the shutdown yet onto Backlund. That Akali still has 1,000 gold shutdown. They would have loved to cash in on that, but you're right. It somehow always ends up being that top lane in a turret where these dives just go a little wrong. However, Dusty, they do end up just about sticking the landing on the fight, coming out with a marginal numbers advantage. And during that fracas, a turret on the Nexus goes down. So Dusty still taking a minor win from that.
Yeah, they're still going to get a hold of this Infernal Soul as well. There's like Singularity going to come down and try and contest, but I just don't know how doable this is. It's going to be a 2-level discrepancy between Viking and Porp as a minimum here. You can see it pretty much across the board. Actually, 2 levels. Tavenza over Spikey. FGG is the level over Yepe. Aelith, that level up over Tatsui. The only place that is even is Dragane, who's actually managed to pick up a fair few kills himself and a fair amount of CS, but you're still into a 9-kill Akali with a fully stacked Medjay. The levels mean significantly less when you add those things into account as well.
Yes, you get to, with this tank Rose build, survive like an extra half a second while this Akali rips your health bar to shreds. Tatui hanging around on the flank does, of course, have that ultimate, may be able to catch someone out if they step a little far forward, but as we've seen in this game already, when Singularity have gone for the picks, and credit for them for trying, the weight of that gold has weighed down Singularity, and they haven't been able to finish off the fights in a quick enough time span.
Still, it's late enough into the game now where a decent hostile takeover, a decent realm warp might find something, but he's gone very deep there. He's got the Heartbreaker. I think he just gets knocked down here, surely. Aelith backs out from the Everfrost active. Viking picks up one, Backland another, and now in the 3v5, Singularity are being run down in their own being. They're being routed. FGG goes down to Dragane. Tatsui does fall, though, and Yepe has no skills left. Dragane at no HP, and Dusty, they wait a little longer than they might have needed to, but 30 kills to 11. It is a statement game as Singularity are trodden into the dirt here in our first game, or last game of some way. Good game on the same day of the last week. It was last week was what I was trying to go for. Not my cleanest Nexus
That
squad
was
ever.
about as coherent as Singularity's fights.
I got confused with first day of last week.
Very quickly. It was once said that the Spartans would not ask how many enemies there were, but where they are. But of course, they weren't picked this game, and they didn't actually turn up to the fight at all.
Oof. I love how angry you are in Arkarom's defense.
Someone has to be.
Someone. He was very upset at the beginning of that game.
You know what you did, Yepe. You do.
How dare you? All right, well, either way, Dusty tied themselves up with Veneer, which leaves us with some very interesting playoff seeding implications yet to work with. All to be decided yet in the NLC here and on Wednesday. But we're going to cut to a quick break and we'll have our final game of the day after some interviews. So go absolutely nowhere.
And we are back to the NLC after the victory by Dusty, securing themselves a better position in playoffs. Everything is still in line, so nobody's secured in whatever seed it is, which means this is really important for Dusty. We talked about this before the game. So really stellar game with more than 30 kills in 20-ish minutes. That's what you get when you don't pick Pantheon. There you go. Now, looking into Dusty, I have the pleasure to do the interview with Zen, the coach for the team. Hello, welcome back.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Nice to be back.
Obviously, key victory for Dusty at this point, because you guys still don't have like a secure spot in playoffs. How do you feel about the expectations moving on to playoffs?
Well, currently we feel pretty confident. Obviously, today's victory doesn't mean that much, but I feel like not because we would be disrespectful to the enemy team or something like that, but most of our hard matches are the really hard ones that get to show what we can do are already over, sadly. But we still have the match tomorrow, and then going into playoffs, hopefully we'll get some good rematches against Vanir, Bifrost, X7, XL, and hopefully we'll get to show what we can do then.
And this is a good opportunity to talk about preparations for best of 5 versus best of 1. Obviously, you as a coach have a lot to say in those best of 5s. It's not those best of 1 where you say the team composition, how do you want to play it, how do you want to look into the macro. From now on, you have to specifically tell them like what you need to do throughout the series, and you have to look at every single game and adapt accordingly. So usually I talk with the players, but now I want to talk to you as a coach. How do you prepare for the best of 5?
Best of 5 sort of add this other dimension. Again, I think it's all with the players, right? I think in best of 5s, what is most important is respect, more so than the strategy or anything else, honestly. I mean, you prepare the strategy in advance, you have multiple different things prepared in order what you want to do. But I think in a best of 5, especially as the games go long, the mental of the players is what's most important, especially in a game 5 of a best of 5. That's all that matters, honestly. I think at that point, all the strategy goes out of the window, all the preparation, everything you've done up till that point gives you a little bit of an edge, but it's all about the mental at that point.
I almost lost there for a second, but we got all the answers as well. By the way, don't worry about that. And this is a key aspect, looking into the mentality of the players. You as a coach have a lot of saying in that. And you were telling me, okay, we ditched the idea of what to pick and whatever. We need to look into mentality. How can you help a player regain that mentality when they're like 0-2 versus a team where you're one game away from being kicked out of playoffs? How do you as a coach prepare a player on that key aspect and like, okay, we can reverse sweep. We got this. How do you do it?
Oh, I appear to have lost connection.
Are you there? Are you there? Zen? Do I get you? Hello?
Oh, I'm back. Okay.
We seem to have a little issue with Zen in terms of communication right now, so we're going to wrap it up. It's really key important. I really wanted to know more about that because we look into players a lot of times, but we never look into coaches. And obviously, it is a hard job. Jamada, our caster, was a coach. I was a coach back in the day when I still was relevant in the scene. No, I'm kidding. When I was a coach, it is a key aspect to actually coach those players into how to regain your mentality after the 0-2. And this is something that we need to look into playoffs. But now, enough with this interview from Dusty's side. We should look into Singularity, where we have the support, the betrayer. Jeppe, hello.
Hello.
You want to say anything?
I want to say that I'm sorry. And I'm convinced that my coach got draft capped by not picking Pantheon on 3, like I yelled. I'm pretty sure I'm muted now because I yelled for him for 20 seconds, so I'm really sorry.
You know, I draw in my shirt your name.
I heard some news about that. I did not see it, but I am very blessed, and I hope I can get your trust back one way or another. Please don't break up with me.
You have to think about that. Thank you, Jeppe. Okay, and now moving on, looking into this game. Obviously, I'm just teasing with you. Looking into this game, you picked the Renata with the Guardian. I love that. Ditching the idea of the Aerie and all those picks. We don't care about that. The tanky Renata seems to be more viable. And tell me something, how did you feel playing with Renata?
I once again think that our team has a problem with fake data. We have won some games against Nautilus. I don't think it's a good matchup. And I think we kind of draft gapped ourselves. I think against the team comp, it was fine, but the way it got punished in the bot lane, like us getting killed or like Dove level 2, and I got shown from a lot of XP, it was really hard to play, for me at least.
Do you feel like Renata is a good champion nowadays? Because when we get to watch champion releases, usually it's a little bit powerful. Let's call it this way. A lot of champions are a little bit powerful and have to be tuned in again in order for them to be part of the meta. Do you feel Renata is in a good position right now?
I think she is in a healthy state. I think she might be a little bit too good. At least, like, her numbers is a little bit weird. Like, I think in some lanes, her E makes the lane kind of unplayable, like from a lot of mid-range champions. And I think the W is a bit strong, but I don't think she's really broken, and I don't think she's like underpowered. So I think she's in a healthy state. But in terms of fun, I think, like, for me, it was pretty fun, like almost getting kills by just pressing R. But I think for some of the enemies, it might be a little bit annoying, or at least, or it might also just be fun, like killing their teammates. I'm not sure yet, but it's fun for me.
It's good to know that that you're having fun playing Renata and she's in a healthy state. That's the way you put it, and I love that way. Thank you so much for another interview, Jeppe. Good luck for Wednesday. Don't tease me, please. Thank you.
I won't promise anything.
Oh, no. Thank you. And there we go, another interview with Jeppe, the great to support. Picking the Renata and telling us that she's in a healthy place. That is good to know as the player in League of Legends. Obviously, we're going to kick it up into another break before we jump back into the last game of the day. It is Riddle, it is Astralis. It is an important one for Riddle, so don't skip a beat. We'll be right back.